Welcome, Parshas Emor. In this week's Parsha, Parshas Emor, we have two major topics. The first topic is regarding the sanctity required for the Kohanim, the priestly tribe, and the Karbonos, the sacrifices themselves, and the sanctity that is required from both of them. And then the second part of this week's Parsha is all about the festivals, the holidays. And at the end of it, it's followed by an incident about a specific blasphemer. So the first collection of laws concerning only the Kohanim, the priestly tribe, indeed is addressed to them specifically, while the second idea, that of the calendars and the festivals, that's central to the life of the entire nation, all the Jewish people. The fact that both these topics are contained within the same parsha means that there has to be some common bond, some common ground between them for them to be in the same parsha. So let's look at the name of the parsha. So before we look at the name of the parsha, I want to bring out a specific verse that we're all familiar with. This is a verse from the third paragraph of the Shema Yisrael prayer, where it says, "Vayomer Hashem el Moshe lemor," and God said to Moses, saying, "Daber el bnei Yisrael, v'amarta aleim," and speak to them. So speak to the bnei Yisrael, v'amarta aleim, and say to them, and then continues, right? So we're using Vayomer and Laomer and Daber and Va'amarta. We're using a couple of different phrases here. And those are the common phrases that we typically use. In this week's Parsha, it changes. It says, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, and God said to Moshe, Emor el HaKohanim. Not Vaydaber el, to speak to the Bnei Yisrael, but Emor el HaKohanim, say to the Kohanim. And the distinction here that we want to draw out is in the two phrases, the two words that are being used. Name of the parsha then, Emor, means to say, saying. The usual formula God uses when communicating his commands in the Torah is Vaydaber, speak to the Israelites, say to them, preferencing the command to say with the command to speak. And so we want to look at the difference between Omer and Daber, those two Hebrew words that have similar meanings to them. But there's a nuanced difference that's very important here. Daber is like hard speech. It's a straightforward, objective expressions which is meant to convey the accuracy and the precision of the statement, making it very, very clear. Emor, in contrast, is more like a soft speech, and that's really it's tailored more to the person that's receiving the message. It's not just about telling the facts. It's about knowing who's receiving the message and how do we communicate the message in a soft way, in the way that it's really going to be more acceptable to them, meaning that they'll be able to hear it and be able to implement it. And so really, what we're talking about here is one of the first instances where the Torah is talking about how to teach. Up until now, Moses has been telling, here's the laws, here's the rules, this is how it goes. But in this parsha, the use of the word emor really is emphasizing the idea of how instruction is to be given. In this sense, we may play the part of the teacher, not only when educating our students, but in dealing with our colleagues, our children, and even ourselves as well. The soft speech, Emor el HaKohanim, to say to the Kohanim, is done in a softer way in order to be more effective and education-wise, to empathize fully with those who are going to receiving the command and make sure that they're able to receive it in a way that they can accept it and be able to use it. An essential ingredient in effective education, or soft speech, is praising students. Our potential students possess an infinite latent good, and by praising them, we're able to draw out the positive qualities within them, allowing them to actualize their potential to a far greater extent than they could have done by themselves. And so this is important when we come to that concepts of command as well. There are times when we have to command but there are also times when we have to communicate in a way that's going to be more acceptable. Not just giving a statement of what has to be done, but being able to gain their confidence and help the student buy into the idea and be able to buy into the mission as well. So that was when we talk about the first part of the Parsha, talking to the Kohanim. But now, the second part of the Parsha was talking about the Jewish holidays. So what's unique about the Jewish festivals is that in the Jewish people, it is the Jewish people who establish the dates. Shabbos, the Sabbath, is always the seventh day. It has been since the seventh day of creation. The Shabbos is going to come, acknowledge it or not, it is going to come on a scheduled time. But remember, the holidays were established by the court because the new moon, the beginning of each Hebrew month, is established by the court. It's established by the sightings of the new moon. This court then validates the sightings have been valid, and we now establish a new month. So the establishment of the new month is done by the Jewish people bearing witness to the beginning of a new moon. The court establishes it. The court then establishes the date of the holidays based on the sighting of the new moon. For example, that Yom Kippur will be on the 10th of the month, Sukkot will be on the 15th of the month. The same thing when it comes around to Passover, it'll be on the 15th of the month. And of course, Shavuos is 7 weeks counting after the second day of Passover. So in that sense, the Jewish holidays are actually established by the court, unlike Sabbath. So here we really see the influence of speech. Just like when we talked about how to present something to the Kohanim in a way they'll be able to accept it and hear it, that's the power of speech. And here we're talking about the holidays. The holidays are established by the power of speech. When the court designates the date as a new month, it therefore designates the holidays as well. So by pronouncing the specific holidays, we are intrinsically bringing out that the sanctity of the day was in potential. By our declaration, it brings it into actuality. Just like praising students, we praise them and we bring out from their potential into the actual accomplishment more than they could have done on their own. And that's the power of speech. And it's only because the speech possesses such real power is it given such grave importance attached to its misuse, which is now we go into that last part of this week's Parsha, which we see the blasphemer who actually uses the power of speech in a totally negative way. So as we come off of the previous Parsha Kedoshim, where it talks about divine consciousness of sanctity, of how we make something holy, we now realize in Parshas Emor the power of speech and the power to sanctify something and to bring something from its potential into its actual great power. And as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, we have the power to affect and even determine reality through the power of proper usage of speech. So let us use our speech to say positive things and to command in a way that will be accepted and get a buy-in so that people can be able to use their own power to the maximum as well. Have a wonderful week.